We're now ready to acquire some footage. We're going to do it via linking to the media that's currently on my hard drive. Now, if you're coming from a previous version of Media Composer, I do want to point out that this used to be referred to as AMA linking to. It's now no longer referred to that. It's just referred to as linking to the media. I do also want to point out that I'm going to navigate over to my settings. I'm going to come down to the link option. I'm going to double click on it because depending on the method that you'll be bringing the footage in, whether it's going to be on an individual clip basis or maybe all of your footage is coming from a card like an XD cam card, you're going to want to make sure that you get in and set up your link settings for things like how do you want bins to be created if Media Composer recognizes that you have a volume attached to your computer. In the case that I have set up now, what's going to happen is once Media Composer detects that there's a card in the system, it's going to immediately create a new bin and it's going to give that bin the volume name of the card that's just been inserted into the computer. I'm simply going to say OK. I'm going to head back to my bins category. I'm going to open my clips bin, and to link to the footage is fairly straightforward. Again, you can do it one of many ways. You can navigate up to File and come down to Input and say Link to Media, or what I normally will do is simply right-click in the bin and say Input, Link to Media. We're now brought to the Link to Media window. You will see that by default on my system, Media Composer is looking to the desktop to link to some media. What I'm going to do is I'm going to point it to a folder on my media drive inside of the footage folder, and I'm going to navigate down to my motocross footage, and I can select one or all of the clips inside of this folder to link to. Now you'll also notice down towards the bottom of the window, we have the ability to get in and tell Media Composer specifically what file types we want to look for. In this case, I have all QuickTime files inside of this folder, but if I had many different types of footage in here, whether it was RED footage, MXF footage, QuickTime movies, I can then get in and sift through whether I just want to import RED files, .r3d, if I want to just bring in MXF files, whether I want to just bring in QuickTime movies. I do also want to point out that there are certain formats that you cannot import, you have to link to. For example, RED footage. .r3d footage cannot be imported. You must AMA link to it and then transcode it. We're going to talk more about transcoding coming up in the next lesson. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the files of type back to be auto detect. I'm simply going to select 5 or 6 clips. I'm going to come down and say open, and in a matter of seconds this media will now be linked to. I can double click on one of the clips, simply hit play, and this media is now ready to be edited into any timeline that I happen to be working on. Now, one thing that's important for me to point out is that linking to footage and editing with it was never really the design of how Link to was supposed to work. Link to is really designed for you to get the footage in, for you to then transcode to a native Avid resolution, for you then to work with that new piece of media inside of Avid Media Composer. The reason being is that because there are obviously different speeds of hard drives, different size of clips, and since you want to get the best possible performance out of Media Composer, you'll be linking to all your footage and then transcoding it.